Okay. We will today we will learn about vector analysis. Vector analysis. So please take some note. So we we have some idea of what a physical variable is. Physical variable. First of all, variable means a quantity which varies. It may vary over space of some region or over some time. So a variable means a quantity which varies basically. That means a quantity which changes, Now, what do I mean by a physical variable? By physical variable, we mean a variable that can be measured. That can be measured. Meaning, so what do I mean by measurement? Okay. First of all, we have to elaborate some thought on measurement. What do I mean by measurement? First of all, to measure a variable, to measure a variable, we need some tool or machine by which a quantity can be weighed. By which a quantity can be weighed. Now, primarily, measurement occurs in three different ways that we can measure. First of all, mass of an object. Mass means the amount of matter that exists in an object. Secondly, we can measure length of a rod. And lastly, time. That is the time, the duration it takes to take an event, to happen an event. That is three basic quantity we measure. The mass of an object, we denote it by m. The length of a rod, we denote it by small l. And the time, small t. These three variables we do measure. Okay. Now, these variables, which can be measured are known as physical variables. Physical variables. These variables which can be measured are known as physical variables. So came to know, we have come to know that three basic variables are, that is mass, length, and time. Apart from these three variables, there are also some secondary variables which we would gradually came to know, that is like temperature, energy, momentum, etc. These also can be measured, and these are known as secondary physical variables. Secondary physical variables. So now, 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 to distinguish one physical variable from another, we assign a symbol for each variable, and we call it dimension of that variable. Like for mass, it is capital M. For length, it is capital L. And for time, it is capital T. We did primarily these three, and all of the secondary variables, more or less can be formed with these three primary variables. And this is called the dimension of that variable. Now, coming back to the measurement aspect, when we measure something, let's say length, we are measuring some length, then we have to fix, first of all, we have to fix a standard of length. Like in SI unit, it is meter. Meaning we choose some system of units, system of measurements in which there are some standards of measurements. Standards of measurements. Some standards of measurements like in SI, we uh, we have some international measurement standards. We call it SI system. We call it SI system, and these are for mass. It is kg. For time, it is second. For length is meter. Primarily these three, and these are known as units. These are known as units. So units are basically in terms of which a measurement can be done. Let's suppose we have a scale here. We have a scale. Let's say it is a meter scale, and we know its length is 1 meter, and this meter is a unit of length in SI unit system, obviously, in SI unit system. And also if I let's suppose a sack of rice, and these weighs, let's suppose 30 kg, then this kg is unit of mass in SI unit. So these are unit system and a dimension. Now coming to the types of variables we have in our common understanding of physics. Types of physical variables. Physical variables. Types of physical variables. Basically, we know that physical variables are, one is scalar, that the three primary variables, that is mass, length, and time. And second is vector. We will soon come to know what a vector is and what are the some examples of vector variables. So basically, the scalar variables are mass, length, time, and temperature. Temperature, etc. And vector variables are like force, momentum, velocity, etc. So these are the types of physical variables we have. One is scalar and one is vector. So what is the basic difference between scalar and vector? What is the basic difference between scalar and vector? For scalar, let's suppose mass. We need to have one variable. Let's suppose m. This is one fixed variable. For vector, let's suppose force. We need to have three variables at a time. It is fx, fy, and mz. Now these three variables do not does not come at chance. These letters actually the directions in the Euclidean space x, y, and z. It is a Euclid three-dimensional system. Euclid three-dimensional system, and force have some amount in the x direction, some amount in the y direction, and some at z direction. When we describe the force, we need to have a set of these three variables. Set of these three variables. Otherwise, we would describe a force by single fx. This does not describe force. This does not describe force. So next,